Sometime in early July, a staff member from Dr. Qureishi's Animal and Exotic Center in Lutz, Florida, found a three-striped mud turtle upside down in the road, shown in this photograph, an adult female, unconscious, and picked it up and brought it into the office where Dr. Qureishi and his staff took care of it for 2 or 3 weeks until giving it to me for an attempt at rehabbing. The turtle has significant damage, mostly to the head. The damage includes a fractured upper and lower jaw, fractured skull, a gash on the top of the head, a gash in the neck, and damage to the right eye socket. Here you can see a photograph of the face of the turtle. Her name is Fern, by the way. A significant gash, upper and lower jaw there, and also underneath the chin. Here you can see the gash in the upper side of the head on the left side. It is deeper than it appears. Here you can see the gash that is in the side of the neck, the right side of the neck. She's carrying 2 eggs. That's they're mature eggs. That's a bit of a problem, but hopefully she will lay those in good time, but she's still carrying them right now. Dr. Qureishi made a valiant effort at sealing both the upper and lower jaws with epoxy. He was successful. Unfortunately, Fern did not like the epoxy, and she pulled it off with her claws after a couple of days, and there is no longer any epoxy sealing her jaws. Early on, I was water testing her. I have her in a tub of water here, not too deep, and wanted to see what she can do. She had problems right away. She could not swim in a straight line. She would swim in circles to her right, sometimes spinning like a top. She also floated. She could not submerge, and her head cocks to the right. So she had significant neurological issues. Here I'm testing her in the big tank some days later, and she's swimming a little better. I've been working with her a lot now, every day, and her swimming is improved, but she still has some issue with submerging. Again, I suspect some kind of a respiratory infection, and hopefully that will clear up in a few days, and in fact it did. Now on the ground we had the opposite problem. Instead of turning to the right, she had a tendency to go to her left, sort of contradictory symptoms. Swims to the right but walks to her left and does circles, spins like a top to her left. Very strange. To make it even odder, she would have these symptoms intermittently when she was on the ground, sometimes walking straight, sometimes going around in circles to her left. Very strange symptoms. She also had problems with eating. First of all, her jaw would barely open, making it very difficult to grasp food, and you'll see the frustration here as she attempts to bite into some piece of a soft scallop. She can barely get her mouth open. Extremely frustrating for her. And you can see here what I ended up doing was putting the food on the side of the mouth and then using a little tool, a cosmetic tool, to work it into her mouth. And I had to be really careful with this, because if I put anything in her mouth that was hard, she would bite down on it and then she would bleed. So I had to be real careful to get this in her mouth and not cause her to fight back with me. Once I got it in her mouth and placed her back down in the water, she was able to swallow the food, as you'll see here in a second. Now you can see her working that food down. And fortunately, this saved me from having to feed her liquid diet any longer, this technique. And here you can see her just frustration as she looks up at me, wondering just what in the world happened to her. Something I can't exactly explain to her, but she's doing really, really well. The feeding has been tedious, but effective. She's gained weight, and she's looking pretty darn good. Now here I'm going to show you another neurological symptom. Notice how she misses when she tries to bite the food. Her head will veer off to the left or to the right, missing this little piece of salmon that I'm trying to feed her. This problem is worse when she aims up than when she aims down, so it's easier to feed her if I put the food on the bottom of the tank than if I try to hand it to her. When I do feed her now, I use large pieces of food, which she's less likely to miss, and very flat pieces of food so she doesn't have a problem getting it in her mouth. Now this video was shot a little later. showing improvements in her walk. You can see she's now walking in a straight line, and that was really great. So the things at this point now that had resolved were the walking straight issue, swimming straight issue, and the problem with submerging. All those problems cleared up completely, and she's doing well. Now here you see her in the main tank, permanently integrated. This is just videoed a few, maybe 2 weeks ago. She's poking around in that mopani wood, very happy, very relaxed, crawling up into that potted plant there, get some air. She's completely integrated. She's getting along with the male mud turtle, which was a big problem at first because he wanted to mate with her there. That's been resolved now, and they are mating successfully without any issues. She's eating on her own in the tank, which is great. She's wandering around in there as if she were in the bottom of a small pond, poking around. That's moss on the bottom there, real moss. You can see her swimming skills are improved. Her stroke is natural and rhythmic. She's not struggling. Gets to the surface easily. Now there you see her under that piece of mopani wood on the right. Now see, here comes Big Romeo, our male mud turtle, and I think he's looking for her, and he doesn't see her. He's looking around, and he's got 2 other females in the tank, so this guy's got it made. 1 male and 3 females. This is the Hugh Hefner of the turtle world. And he doesn't see her anywhere. He senses her, but he can't find her, so he gives up and heads back. If you look at the back of his shell, you'll see it's all chewed away. The reason I kept this turtle was because of the damaged shell. He was out back behind my house feeding, and I found him that way, and I decided to adopt him. Here you can see she's eating some catfish and doing very well. The mouth is opening much wider now. The little white powdery puff you saw coming out of her mouth is calcium powder that I added to the, you can see that kind of spewing out of her mouth. Calcium powder that I added for some additional nutritional benefit. I try to provide all the kinds of things that a mud turtle would find in the wild, a soft substrate on the bottom, natural items in the tank itself for them to explore and hide in. Here I have mopani wood, which is great because it sinks. Real live moss in there. There's also some lowrider kind of plastic plants, which are nice. They look realistic, but they also provide a place for moss to grow. The plants actually grow in that plastic plant there on your left. And little Fern is just a happy camper in here. I'm not sure she realizes she's in captivity. She has a fairly large tank. It's 8 feet long, 3 feet wide, lots of room to roam. She's doing fantastic. In this final sequence, Fern is eating a piece of chicken on the bottom. She's kind of in a little cave there. That's a favorite place where the turtles go to scratch their shells. They love to scratch their shells under that mopani wood. Anyway, she's a permanent resident of this tank now, and I hope that her neurological symptoms continue to improve. And this is a story with a happy ending. I hope you've enjoyed this video.